jump off, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like a jump off to my week. And then
Yeah.
I used to say, oh, I'm gonna go back to sleep. And I never do.
No,
Like, you know, I
yeah.
just like keep going. Next thing I know, I had a wonderful Sunday. So today is our opportunity to make a tribute to our men of Afroeconomics in the world.
Amen.
But I have
Amen.
been blessed with the opportunity to serve and grow with some dynamic black men. You know, and
Amen.
these are the beautiful black men that you might not ever see on a headline. These are the ones that hold it down for us. And I just want to say thank you for all you do. You know, thank you. You know, I have,
Amen.
Mr. Smith, who has known me since the beginning of my business and supported my business, and it's such a blessing. I mean, if you look at him, never think that he's been retired almost as long as I've been in business.
Wow.
that's that's how much the economy has changed. look,
Wow.
look, I'm older now than he was when he retired. That's
Yeah,
amazing. That's
that's
amazing.
blessed.
But yeah, things have changed a whole lot. So I look, we have look the doc. Look at that. We see y'all seeing Mr. Lewis's wife sitting there next to him. Look at her. Isn't that beautiful? But she look, every time we have a meeting, Mr. Lewis is busy. So she is sitting there basically holding him in place. Cause she
That's
knows
true.
like
That's true.
he'll walk past the meeting, he'll come back, he'll make a comment and walk past the meeting. So she is bracing him. She would love to be making breakfast right now. She can't. She can't. She gonna
You,
make him. JB needs you to be there. So thank you,
girl,
thank you, thank you.
you don't know. You don't know. Amen.
Look at him. So if he looks like he's out of breath, it's because he's straining. He's like, Lord, woman, let go of my arm. So
I've got 4 kids and 4 grandkids. I'm always out of breath.
poor grandkids. I love it. That is so. That's a blessing. That's fruitful and multiplying. I
Amen.
Well, I'm gonna keep an eye out for our other brothers who are going to at some point like wake up and go, "Oh my goodness, what have I done?" But one thing I must point out, and Ms. Ramadan, you can tell me, I'm sure your brother, another Lewis, they're not related. They don't know yet, but they're cousins by way of Afroeconomics. Mr. Roy Lewis, our extreme. I mean, this Roy Lewis not only is Mr. Corporate America and probably got called into work. He warned me of that yesterday because they've been so busy where he works. But they also he is a speed racer. Like he races motorcycles. So
Oh wow.
one day I was bragging, Mr. Smith, about my motorcycle. Oh, look at Gwen! I saw you. I saw you, Gwen. One day, one day I was bragging about my motorcycle and how I ride a Busa and everything, and he was just sitting there quietly. And then Mr. Lewis broke it to me. He said, "Girl, I've been riding a long time, and I ride competitively." And then I looked him up on YouTube, and he's up there doing it. So we didn't get to have him this morning, or maybe after they probably have had him up all night. But we do what we have to do. But I appreciate just everybody. So I guess the lesson in that was, JB, don't brag because that's when you get humbled. there's always
Hmm.
some there's always somebody out there doing better. But I don't even know why I brought it up that day. It was funny. I was thinking about my bike. And after that, look, but I don't think y'all don't have to worry. You won't see me on the track racing. No, I'll just race around the block. That's about it. So, Miss Beecham, you in the middle. We're going to bump you off. You know what I'm saying? After we get started, I hope you will do a couple of songs for us, like at least at the beginning, and hopefully you'll stay around
Oh,
for the end. You
okay.
going to stay with us?
Yes, ma'am.
We have Loretta Beecham. She is the best. She is Miss Multi-Talented. Look, she got her background message going today. making the best. She is a music leader. She is at her church. She is, has her own music ministry. Is an educator to our young people. She plays all of these instruments and she sings. I'm not bragging about her. I'm not bragging, am I? I want to make sure though that I record this moment so that future kids can see this. So our recording is starting right now. Good morning.
Good
Thank you
morning.
for sharing your day with me. This is Sunday at sunrise, and it is today's Black Man Day, and it is Father's Day, and it is Son's Day, it is Brother's Day. It is a day to celebrate all of the contributions that our men have made. And I even found some volunteers that were willing to get up at Sunday on sunrise in exchange for their wives, making them a huge breakfast. Now, I hope that they told you that part of the deal. That I said on Wednesday night that if you get up with me, your wife will make biscuits and gravy and bacon. And no, she is not going to take you out the Cracker Barrel. Is actually making these items: fried apples, chicken sausage, every type of sausage you ever wanted, regular meat and beef and everything, and eggs scrambled and boiled in every form, because that's how we do it at AfroEconomics. Breakfast, they say, is the most important meal of the day, right? So I just want to thank you, brothers, for being with me this day as an opportunity to just celebrate the goodness of today's Black man. And Ms. Beecham, I have asked if she will share a song for us, some live entertainment never been seen before anywhere on this planet. She is going to share a song of her selection with us.
All right. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, here we go.
I'm like, God, I gotta unmute y'all. Thank you so much. So much. And it doesn't like, I gotta look when y'all hit it and then I couldn't hit it because I unmuted you. So we're gonna go into a unmute schedule, into a Mr. Smith. I gotta get you unmuted. And then I gotta make sure Mr. Lewis is unmuted. We are definitely, we're all back together. I have something I want to first say is that I want to express so much thanks to God for allowing all of us to be healthy, to allow us to have this opportunity to share. I just want to thank God for your presence. Thank Him for your health. Thank you for your commitment to your families, to your culture, to the lives of everyone, your commitment to peace on this planet. And your commitment and to being the example that God has asked you to be. And that's to everyone who's on the screen and to all of the participants that we have. I just want to thank you all for just believing in me and believing in the importance of today's Black man and how it's so important for us to love on one another. Dear God, amen. Thank you. So that is just my personal attempt to tell you thank you and to tell you how much I thank God for you. I'm gonna move one. I can move this square, but I don't think that I'm gonna lose because I love that she has Happy Father's Day. So when she comes back, we will have that. But I just hope that you can all see each other. So I have this talking point that I just want to use to open our mind. And you know me, have research that I have found on, this is from can you see this screen? And I hope that you can. And it has the this is by the Pew Research survey, where Black American experiences of racial discrimination vary by education level and gender. So it's just interesting. And if we just focus over here on the graph that helps us summarize, it says that the majority of Blacks say that they face discrimination. But those with college experience are more likely to say this. And most importantly, whenever I listen to something like this, these are some things that we need to make sure, because television and everything is always throwing numbers at us. So look at what date it is. Now, this is May 2019. If this was surveyed today, because of our increase in consciousness, these numbers may be even higher. I definitely wouldn't anticipate them to be lower, because it's, even a lot of people who may not have been aware or thought about things that happened to them, maybe the current events are waking them up. So it says the majority of Blacks say they have faced discrimination, but those with college experience are more likely to say this. So it says 76% overall say that from time to time or regularly, that Black people, 76% of those surveyed said that they have experienced discrimination. 76. And those with high school or less, 69. And those with some college or more, 81% of Black folk who with college experience are saying that they have experienced discrimination. Now, the article goes on to explain that the more college experience that you get, the more likely you are to have been subjected to being the only Black person. Now, I was explaining that to my daughter, that it wasn't until I got into college at University of Virginia that I experienced being the only Black person, and all the way through business school, being the only, Black person in a class. So that might, after you get into college, that's why the numbers may be up, because as you're younger, you know what I mean? Or if you don't go into experiences that make you be the only Black, because without the college experience, sometimes you're in jobs that are dominated by Black people. So you feel that that Black person, because what, lower level management jobs, they will get us to oversee one another. And I use that term oversee on purpose. They will get us to, if you're only supervising Black people, they will get a Black person to supervise Black people more likely than they would get a Black person to manage over white people. So the Black person that's in middle management or upper management, they're more likely to feel the discrimination. And that's what happened to me when I got into corporate America. So, but look at the numbers when you go on to seeing men. It says, now this is Pew Research, not JB Bryan research. It says, okay, again, it has more information about this. The light green dot is high school, the dark green dot is some college or more. And then people act as if they were suspicious of them. And some people think that Black people in management positions are less likely to be treated like, they're a criminal. But this research says no, that even with college experience or more, that you're treated suspiciously. I remember my father with a PhD. He would say he'd walk into stores and they'd look at him like he was going to steal something. They didn't know how many degrees he had. They just saw him, unfortunately. They saw his skin as a suspicion. And this is now up 2019, 71% of Blacks surveyed with college experience. So been unfairly stopped by police, 46% of those, more with college, more with high school. Now this is interesting. Been unfairly stopped by police, the numbers were higher for those with high school or less, and with 46% than 42%. So Black men are far more likely, this is their research conclusion, Black men are far more likely than Black women to say they've been unfairly stopped by police. That was pulled out of this data. Been unfairly stopped by police, down here, been unfairly stopped by police, 59% of Black men. So people acted like they were suspicious, 73% of the Black men. People acted as if they were not smart, 61. The numbers are close here though, 59. Now, definitely, I would be all over that repeatedly, professionally, I've felt that, as a Black woman, as a Black person, that we're not given the benefit of the doubt. And as a business owner, you're increasingly faced with that. Been subject to slurs or jokes. 57% of Black men said they have been subject to jokes about their race. Been treated unfairly in hiring. 50% of Black men. Feared for their personal safety. 46%. Been unfairly stopped. 59%. People assumed they were racist or prejudiced. 31% Black men, 20% of Black women. People assumed that they were racist. Isn't that something? So I want to expand on, faced with those things, Mr. Robinson.
Yes.
Faced with those things, and turn up your volume for us.
Oh, okay, just a moment.
Well, would you say first of all, according to your life experience, have you found that people treat you, have you found that occurrence that you have been treated suspiciously when going, like you're looked at as suspicious or watched as you go across the store, around the store?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, good morning, and thanks to JB. Let's give her a round of applause for hosting this, because this is but yeah, I'm sorry, JB, can you repeat the question for me?
Oh, I was wondering about your life experience. Like, do you find that Pew Research to be relevant to your life? Like, is that
Oh,
true?
oh yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, and I mean, I'm sure that every brother on here has had some type of experience where they were just stopped just based on or followed in the stores or um, you know, whether they were following the store, stopped on, driving while black, shopping while black, it doesn't matter. They don't see degrees.
Mm.
They don't look at your religion. They don't see anything. The only thing is it's nothing but pure stereotyping. In
Mm.
America, that's just the way it is in America. America just, it's set up that way. And we just have to, as black men, we have to continue on and know that we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors. And once we understand that we had some people to go before us,
Mm.
and we keep our dignity intact, we keep everything about ourselves, we make sure that we keep dignity, we stay dignified, and we continue to be the people that our ancestors were, and because we stand squarely on their shoulders.
Amen. The so when you think about this, thank you. That was Mr. Smith. Would
Yes.
what is your opinion? How has your experience been? Like that now, Mr. Robinson, would you say before you answer, Mr. Smith have more of a corporate, experience? Most of us, Miss Robinson, I see you more of like you have been an entrepreneur, but have you had also like corporate experiences that have been disappointing?
Yes. Yes, I have.
Yeah.
I have been stereotyped by white people. For what reason, I have no idea.
Right.
Especially when I'm driving.
Mm.
I can see a cop parked on the side of the road. About 10 seconds later, he's behind me, following me, pull me over.
Mm.
Just stereotype.
But do you think being wealthy draws more attention to yourself? Because you know what I mean, they might look at like, wow,
Of course.
where did he get that from? You know what I
Of
mean?
course. Yeah. They figure like, how can he afford that? You know what I'm saying?
Mm. That I think, yeah, I do. I remember when I used to have things, and I remember being treated, more aggressively, being pulled over more when I had things. Like now I just drive a Jeep Wrangler. But when I had an expensive car and I would wear my bush, I know for a fact they thought it was a black man. You know what I'm saying? And they would stop me because they would always let me go. I don't drink or anything, but like, one time I was leaving a restaurant and I just, that S500 I used to have, that thing would just 0 to 60. You know what I'm saying? And I'm coming out. I couldn't even get to the exit of the shopping center before they pulled me over in this predominantly white area. And the guy said, like, where are you going? You know what I'm saying? And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm just going. Literally, you can tell that man was like, oh, I thought I was pulling over a man. You know what I'm saying? He really thought, because it was like I had the bush, but I definitely have felt like, since that has not happened. I don't drive any slower. My car can't go as fast though. You know what I'm saying? Now I drive a little Jeep Wrangler, but I don't get pulled over like that. You know what I'm saying? Like the only, but I definitely can feel what you're feeling like that. I think, we still have that time where it's like, what's that black man doing with that? You know what I mean? Like, let's see if he has some drugs in that car, and that's really sad. That is really sad. And I feel that like one time, I think it was Doug Wilder, after he was, governor of the state, the first black governor on the planet. And he was in the airport and they didn't know who he was. And they pushed him against a wall, a plexiglass wall, and it really let me know that it does not matter, your title, what I mean, or any, or levels of education or anything, and sometimes the more you're exposed because of your education and your advances and your opportunities and your money, would how do you feel, Mr. Lewis Mr. Lewis the Third, Mr. Make America Great Again? How do you feel about your experiences. And we were talking this morning about some things that me and you agree on. You know what I mean? The ability and the desire for you to protect your home. You know what I'm saying? And that you like your freedom and that you will carry your weapon openly. And that and most of us on here respect that. That, you know what I mean, we do all deserve the right to protect our family. So we're not mad at you. Just know that you're surrounded by family, except for Mr. Robinson. I'm just joking. No, but Theo, Mr. Robinson be like, what in the world? But of all the time I have known Mr. Lewis, I never knew that. I was just joking on him this morning because he likes real estate. And I said, all right, I said, Earl Lewis, also known as Donald Trump. And he said, oh, and that's what started all this. I was just joking. I was just joking. So you never know. Like, this is not like CNN or trying to have a variety of different thoughts on here. I just chose members that I have no idea. He had never shared that with me, Twyla. But I appreciate you being true to you, and I appreciate you showing the variety of thoughts that we have within our community, So tell us, Mr. Lewis, about your experiences that I guess just because you feel that way, that doesn't, you tell us about you. Tell us what you think.
Well, I remember I haven't really had a lot of bad experiences with police, but I remember one in particular where when we used to live in King Queen County, and my wife had a Mercedes, beautiful Mercedes, and instead of the license plate in the front, we had the Mercedes sign. You can get those type of license plates, and that's what we had in the front. And this, King Queen County is a good old boy, town down there. And we pulled into the gas station, and the police pulled in, and, everything worked on the car. And, but he pulled in, and his reason for stopping me was he said that you're supposed to have a license plate on the front as well as the back. Yeah. Now, I immediately knew that he saw this black man in a beautiful Mercedes.
That's right.
And I mean, you get instinctively, you know, it's not all the time, but you can tell sometimes why people, white officers pull you over.
Boy,
now, yeah. Now, nowadays, I don't get, when they pull me over now, we'll normally have a conversation, and it's, for the most part, positive. Now, that may be because I have my Trump hat on, but, we were pulled over in Ashland earlier this year, and I had my gun on me. And, I think one of my signals wasn't working. And he pulled me over in the gas station, and he said, I wanted to see your license plate. I mean, your license and registration. And before I could reach for it, I told him, look, I can't reach for it because of what I have. And he looked down, and he saw my gun, and he said, if you promise not to mess with it, then you go ahead. But I instinctively knew that situation.
That's right.
He saw my Trump hat, right. And I think that might have had put something in his mind that, I'm not a threat. But it all comes down to fear that white people, white men in particular, have historically had for black men going back to slavery. And that fear that they have of us still exists. And whether they can pit the black woman against the black man, right, or, and separate us, or whatever they need to do, the real basis is fear. Because there was a black lady, I can't think of her name, she did a study with white cops. And that's what they told her. When they pulled black men over, it came down to fear. They feared for their life. Rightly or wrongly, that's what it came down to.
Well, you have two black sons. Dr. Williams has two black sons. Like, you have three black sons. Tell the truth. Don't you think that you would get away with things because you're older now than your black sons if they were pulled over with that gun on their, even if they had on the Trump hat? You know what I'm saying? They wouldn't have.
Yeah.
They saw you now grown as less of a threat than what they see your sons as.
Well, that may be true because they have a certain demographic. And when it, I had someone tell me who used to be in the military, and he knew what police officers do. And he told me off the record, he said, look, what white cops do is they look for black boys, black young men driving beat up cars so that they will have a reason to pull them over for a busted tail light or a signal light not working. So that's who they target. And normally when they pull them over, they find other things that they can arrest them for. So, you're right. They do target the younger black boys and black men. That's why I tell my boys to just do what you're supposed to do. When they pull you over, that's not the time to state your case.
That's right.
It's just obey what they say. And if you have an issue with it, when you get down to the police station, then you ask for the captain or you ask for your lawyer and you state your case. But right there on the street, they don't want to hear it. They just want to do their job, and that's it.
That's interesting. What do you think, Dr. Williams? Like, how would you, of course, I don't know, but Dr. Williams, I just hate when women like get in the middle of man talk. So Dr. Williams, you just go.
No, it's fine. Everybody has something to say. So it's good. So as you mentioned, I have two sons. Or we have two sons. It's my beautiful wife, Gwen. Go ahead, smile. We've had those talks about what you do, just like Mr. Lewis said, right? Here's what you should consider and do in response to being pulled over or anything like that. In fact, the day that my older son got his car, he went to work at that time from 2 to 10. So he was coming back home around 11 o'clock p.m.
In Maryland.
And in Maryland, thank you. And basically he got pulled over. And it was the first night he got his first car. And the reason he was pulled over was because he had temporary plates, or the paper plates that they give you at, until your real license plates arrive.
Yeah. And
the guy said, well, I was just checking because it looked, his new car or whatever. But that was kind of interesting. But I do want to move over into the corporate side. You mentioned the discrimination and the study. A lot of times the discrimination is not necessarily overt. Sometimes it's very subtle. And I've experienced a lot of that, coming up in my career, because you're in meetings and you see this stuff joked about a lot. You say a point and you think it's a good way to proceed, and it gets ignored. And then like 30 seconds later, your white associate says the same thing, and it's a brilliant idea.
Woo.
And that sort of takes the air out of you in terms of your willingness to participate in future meetings. And then the rub is, well, you come to the meetings and you sit around like a bump on a log, right? You don't say anything. Well, you can, so it's a double-edged sword. So you have to be aware of those kinds of things as well. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Oh no, it's just powerful. Like if we were in church, I'd say hallelujah. Lord, right, Mr. Smith? I mean,
that's right.
On average, we retire earlier. And yes. I know a lot of it is because we are not in upper level management. If you are high enough, you're going to stay until they push you out the door. But at some point, you get tired of being kicked in the face and not appreciated. Like I've been in experiences where they want a Black person on the board. They'll ask me to be on the board, but nobody will let me make any comments. All of the white men will lead the whole meeting, never once ask me my opinion at all. You know what I'm saying? And that has happened to me several times, to the point now I never get on anybody's board. Because first of all, you're asking me to take my time. And when I do say exactly how I feel and what needs to be done, they never like what I say. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I need to be focusing on, and that is one freedom that I feel that if we are like the best of us are in corporate America, in many situations, of the best of us, it's kind of like our athletes, and they go into Division I, predominantly white schools, and they build up the money for those schools. So those schools have more to offer. Well, that's what happens in corporate America. Like they go and they recruit you, the best of us. You know what I'm saying? So that we're like, as entrepreneurs, it's rare to get an entrepreneur that's like me, that, you know what I mean, that was successful on the corporate side, but chose in her 20s to get out. You know what I'm saying? Because you give up so much when you make that kind of move. And I have often said that if I was a man, if I was a Black man, I could not have done that. I could not have done that because there's been times where I have made no money. You know what I'm saying? And I've seen many Black men with families who are, lose their whole family because they want to pursue their dream. They want to build the business. And it takes so much sacrifice, as a Black person, you know what I mean, to do that. So I know that I had to raise my daughter by myself because of that. You know what I'm saying? Because people are not going to, you know what I'm saying? Like in many situations, too many situations, you know what I mean? Going to really buy into, I will give up everything in order for this dream to happen. But when I had a little child and I was broke, she didn't know that we were broke. You know what I'm saying? So I was able to just focus on making sure me and her ate. But that's a kind of pain that if I had a wife and 3 or 4 kids, and you know what I'm saying? They would have been like, look, this market is down. I know you're the greatest, but they over there hiring at that firm and you better go over there and get that job. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because I went through, you know what I mean, pain. And then I chose to focus on us. It's almost like being Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, for my life. Because without having the privileges of a nonprofit, you know what I'm saying? Because you're like, you when you focus on a people that are treated the way that we're treated, you know what I mean? You're automatically sacrificing. So they say when white people get a cold, we get pneumonia. So when you get pneumonia, what do? I die. You know what I'm saying? You get pneumonia, I get COVID. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like if you serve Black people. And I don't think that people ever realize that. Like, and that's why you have so few, Black businesses that actually market, you know what I mean, to their own community. You know what I'm saying? Because they, it's like, because y'all getting pneumonia, I ain't going down with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we, that's why I appreciate my customers. I appreciate those of you. Like, and I don't have poor people. Like, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people that focus, a lot of businesses that aren't Black, that focus on Black business, they try to focus on the lowest among us, those who are the lowest income with the lowest wealth, where my clients are the elite, as you would be seen as, the top 1% of their statistical, each of you are statistical anomalies when it comes to looking at research on Black people. So what I'm serving the, you know what I mean, advanced, those who have made it through, those who have made it out. And at the same time, our community is being robbed because you allow me to have free membership. So we have free membership so that everybody, no matter how much money they make or have, they can get the advantages that you get. From, that's what you are allowing by supporting AfroEconomics. I would say for every one person that pays like you are, you are taking care of 10 that can't pay. But we don't get it. You know what I'm saying? So instead we go over there and our people, who need the help the most get sucked up into a system that's pulling out $100 a month. Because they don't, you know what I mean? They don't know, you know what I'm saying? $200 a month that they can't afford, that they should be putting into their work plan and building up something for their future, which AfroEconomics supports. You know, anybody come this way, the first thing that we tell them is maximize what you have available to you at work. It's not, you know, but there's everything that doesn't care about our community says, no, you don't need to do that at work. Take your money over here and we can charge you extreme fees and we're going to get paid. And none of that's coming back to your community. None of it. And that's, I mean, there's things that you support. Like I have several clients that now are major investors into an insurance company that is owned by Magic Johnson. He doesn't even know that AfroEconomics is actually supporting Magic Johnson. You know what I'm saying? In his pursuit to try to move forward. You know what I'm saying? So we are, like, as I told you, I'm moving more and more towards us doing culturally conscious investing. Because something can be socially conscious, but have 20,000 discrimination lawsuits. They can be over in Africa, stripping the land and, you know, and not paying people equal wages. They could be, you know what I mean, doing a lot of stuff. So we have to focus on our cultural priorities, not just social consciousness and how much money the company's making. So we have some people out there who are actually saying stuff. Goodness, Twyla is talking to Gary. She has a lot to ask you about. Twyla, I'm going to try, because I just realized that I can do this. I'm going to allow you to talk. Talk is not available because Twyla has an older version of Zoom. Dang, Twyla. Twyla got an upgrade. Twyla was, I mean, I don't know, y'all probably can't see it, but Twyla, like, she's a retired law enforcement officer. Yeah. She said, at Gary, that is what drove me to teach school. At Gary, I saw a young woman get illegally arrested and convicted. She was complying with all of my directives. She was leaving the establishment. The other officers came and roughed her up. She ended up being treated for her injuries. Her statement matched mine. The prosecutor was dissatisfied that I would not change my story. I was not called for the trial. She got 18 months and was sent to the shrink. So sad. At Gary, I was called to end by Chief Gibbons and my story would not change. Good for you. But you know what, Twyla, I've seen, you should really pursue this, because I have seen that they're going back into the law enforcement files, because there are many women that I've seen that are saying about how they were treated, you know what I mean, by law enforcement officers that forced them to leave and get out. Like, they owe you compensation. If you can't, you know, could not do your job successfully because of things that if they're going to do settlements for what they did, they owe you a settlement also. But they don't, you know, and we talked about that on Wednesday, of these huge legal settlements that they have to make, you know, but because of what the law enforcement is doing, you know what I'm saying? And the management of the law enforcement is making these type of errors and not supervising correctly. You got to make sure that you protect yourself. They owe you money. The convicted woman, and it bothers me until this day. I know it does. To have to think about that. Ms. Ramadan says, remind them that don't let me say, oh, wait a second. Oh, wow. Okay, wow. The ladies have a lot to say. I was trying to go all the way back. Like, y'all are talking, they are talking. The Rosita, happy Father's Day, good morning. All right. That was an easy one to get out. This is Dancy, a way to start a wonderful day. That's right. Beautiful music. Oh, that's right. I was always the only one in my private school. Twyla been through it. Ms. Ramadan, I agree The cycle expands, so does the discrimination. Twyla, in the Marine Corps, she was also in the Marine Corps. This woman is amazing. She was the only Black and the only female. That teaching school, most of the schools I worked in, was the only Black teacher and the only Black administrator. And she had to manage Caucasians, was challenging more. I know this one sister, she became the principal of this school, and the whole, all of the white teachers came up against her and got her fired. No, and it was sad. I mean, they got her out. My brother was pulled over several times driving my car, just going across the street. That's Miss Witherspoon. Wow. Yeah, I told y'all that story about Thurgood Marshall being pulled over 3 times trying to get out of Tennessee. 3 times. And if it wasn't for the white guy on his staff insisting on following them, he would have been killed. They were taking him to the woods, not to the courthouse.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when I lived with my parents and we lived with my grandparents down in New Orleans. I was 14 years old, something like that. I think it was 9th grade. And down there, my grandmother had moved from the shack she was in to a middle-class white neighborhood. So when I went to school, me and there was one other Black girl in the whole class. All right. So that's the way it was. And I played on the baseball team. And their nickname for me was Ink Spot. That's, and because I was a quiet kid, I didn't really make a big deal about it.
Whoa.
But I knew instinctively, I knew what that, it wasn't that much of a term of endearment calling me Ink Spot.
But they really called you Ink Spot?
Yeah, I was the only Black kid on the baseball team.
That's terrible.
And, yeah. And going back to the point you talked about the Black man as it relates to economics and in the corporate world or just trying to get a job, that's why Good Times with James Evans was so important.
That's right.
It showed the real struggles that these Black men had to deal with,
right.
With finding a job, keeping a job, trying to move up to take care of his family. So, that was really, and after he left the show, it really didn't have the same impact. There was good episodes, but
it's
him
true.
being that,
that's what that shows also, how important,
yeah.
The father is. You're right.
Yes. He showed that how even in a lower class or working class economic status, he was going to stay there no matter what and try, no matter how many times he got knocked down, Florida was still there encouraging him. And he made it work.
Did you know why he got kicked off the show? Does anybody know?
No.
I heard him do some interviews about it. And my understanding is that the producers or directors wanted to go more in a JJ type of situation where
dumb Black man direction, not strong father, but dummy and
yeah.
And you know what I'm saying?
They didn't want that situation.
Because you got to neutralize it. That's how I've noticed that, like, especially when I see other people doing what I do, like, they will turn it into just very sassy and, not like, this is how you do it. And this is how you make money and you so-and-so and nobody, blah, 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 and then they'll have like 200,000 clicks, you know what I'm saying? No substance, no basis of their research. They, them, which I can't stand those words. If y'all hear me say they or them or this. You know what I'm saying? It's a weakness. You know what I'm saying? And we have to stop allowing, that if it was a law enforcement issue, if it's a corporate issue, if it's a public policy issue, let's speak on it. No they and them or it. Go after it. But that takes us from just talkers to actually scholars and researchers and understanders of our situation. And that's what we had historically when we had Martin Luther King speaking on it, when we had Malcolm X speaking on it. And Malcolm X didn't have to go to school to become a scholar. He read and became a scholar. He read. He knew his stuff. He knew his research. He knew how to make an argument. He knew how to have a conversation. He knew how to not get mad just because someone didn't agree with him. I think so that we have to get an appreciation again for people like you all who know how to have an intelligent conversation and listen to our brothers that know how to have an intelligent conversation and allow
dialogue.
Yes. And allow you to supersede the Lil Wayne, because they will immediately have Lil Wayne video over and over playing that there is no racial problem. There's no racial problem. I've never run into a racial problem, but the majority of Black men are not Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
So but they would just like for you to think, and the majority of Black men cannot relate to that, cannot relate to someone who was constantly smoking from the break of dawn to the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? That's not the majority of us. That's not the majority of you.
Yeah.
Where they constantly want to think, that the majority of Black women don't identify with Black men. So this celebration of you by a Black woman is way too rare.
Yeah.
Because the system is designed to help us not be together. Even what we hear in the Democratic Party of we need to have a Black woman vice president. That is a subconscious movement saying that we don't need a Black man to solve a Black man problem. The lady said last week that we need a Black woman based on the situation. So that wasn't a Black woman whose neck was pressed on the ground. We're not discussing Black women issues. When we think, we're not, that's not. Even the statistics show that we're less likely, to have these issues that we're talking about. The over-criminalization is for the entire Black community, but we're really talking about Black men. So we should stop. So if we're going to give our vote to a party, we need to be careful. We need to be careful that party is going to acknowledge the importance of the Black family, and it's going to acknowledge the importance of protecting and allowing the Black man to protect himself. And that you can't just skip over acknowledging the importance also of you saying you want the Black vote, but you don't need the Black man vote. I have an issue with that. You know what I'm saying? So we have a Black man problem. So you better pick a Black woman because you have a Black man problem. We need to, as a people, discuss that, the impact of that.
Yeah. But
how do you feel about that? How did you feel about that, Gary? Did you feel like that? Did you think about it? I just think a lot of times, you all are very nice. Black men are very nice about letting things slide. Y'all keep a lot inside. But when you heard them say, here we have, that lady out of Wisconsin or somewhere, she said, I'm going to step out because based on current things, we need to have a Black woman.
Well, no, Amy Klobuchar, she stepped out because her record, that cop, he could have very well prosecuted him for the prior occurrences that he had, or the prior incidents that he had.
No, but she said no. She said I stepped down because a Black woman should be picked.
No.
I know. We know. Yeah. That's right. Somebody should call her on that too.
Yeah. Well, no. The sister that's a part of the NAACP legal team, she called Amy Klobuchar out. They were already saying that she should not be should not be
Even
considered
considered.
vice president because of that very reason. Because if she had prosecuted this guy based on the previous incidents that he had, then this guy wouldn't have been. Then George Floyd would probably still be alive today.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
So, but I want to agree with Twyla. You know, I sent her a private message. That's probably why you didn't see. I just sent her a private message.
Got her going.
Yeah, no, because what she said was true. Because if we go back and look at Tamir Rice, that young man, that young boy, 12 years old, you know, he didn't even have a chance to do anything. And remember, JB, we talked about this. Ohio is an open carry state, so it doesn't matter. It's an open carry. He had a toy gun. Now, if it's open carry, he shouldn't have been killed to begin with.
That's right.
Right? I mean, if it's open carry, he got a toy gun. It doesn't matter what.
That's right. Toy or not. That's right.
It was toy
That's
gun
right.
or real gun. So when it comes to us, Orlando Castillo had a carrier's permit. So it doesn't matter. He was a legal owner, and you didn't hear the NRA say anything about either one of those incidents. The NRA never said anything.
That's right. That's right.
You know,
I agree with you 100. I would agree with you 100%. And that is, well, don't you feel like, how did you feel? Did you feel that that's okay for her to say that, for Biden to say that he knows that the black vote is important to him, but he said, I want a black woman?
Well, you know, I mean, they've been pushing for that, but what's the alternative?
A black man.
No. I mean, in terms of this two-party situation, this two-party system, because I can't stand this two-party system. Because
all right. Oh yeah. Well, the alternative is definitely for us too.
The party is not the party of Lincoln these days. People keep talking about this Republican Party as a part of Lincoln. That is not. We're not looking at the party of Lincoln today. We're looking at the Freedom Caucus. We're looking at the what did they call themselves? What did they used to call themselves when President Obama was the president? And
like the Tea Party and everything like that, different stuff. Yeah, but
those guys are not. I mean, that's not the party. That's the old.
But most importantly, what about you? Like, what about you? How do you feel like them saying we don't even need to consider? Like, I mean, because you know the Democratic Party is going to get the majority of the black vote.
Yeah.
So, but why isn't the black man considered?
I mean, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I mean, I know that there are people that are pushing for a black woman to be the VP, the candidate. I can't say, you know, why they're saying no. There are black organizations, black women organizations that are actually pushing for a black woman to be like Stacey Abrams from Georgia.
Yeah.
You know, why they're pushing, you know, Kamala Harris. You know, they're pushing for that. So, you know, there are organizations that are pushing for that. And hey, I can't answer why this guy decided, you know, that says, okay, I'm going to choose a black woman as my VP.
Yeah. Well, do you think, Dr. Williams, do you think a black man should be considered?
Absolutely. I think the black man should be considered. A couple of things to keep in mind, though. You mentioned earlier about, you know, discrimination and things of that nature, and the challenges that historically black men have had with police encounters when they go after our young men first, are the most. When that happens and our young men get records, in a lot of states, they are excluded from voting. And so that's an exclusionary measure that actually takes us out of the game, so to speak, in terms of a voting block. And so we tend to have less real power because we can't actually exercise the greater portion of our community in terms of voting. And notwithstanding the fact that a lot of us don't vote, right? That's another that we have to sort of deal with.
I think that, in my opinion, I think Trump is going to pick up a lot of black men this time, or they're not going to vote at all, because like they're you know, and they're moved not to vote, you know. And I feel that more and more the moves that Trump, like if he repeatedly sells on that point, like Muhammad Ali's son spoke out last week about he supports Trump and the criminal justice system.
I didn't hear that.
Oh yeah, like look up Muhammad Ali Jr. and that was in the New York Post, I believe, and long article, and he said, "I believe that my dad would support Trump." He was like,
Well,
it,
I have,
it was like he was like, and a lot of it is about the right to carry, the right to protect their property, the right to bear arms, and if they're gonna continue to move that, but that is something that I don't think that that they're going to that the Democrats even caught last time. But I would because Trump got a lot of the black male vote last time, and Muhammad Ali's son pointed out that of all the political candidates that he's ever voted for, like he was saying, like and we could call him a Looney Tune, but he's like he kept his word. He's done what he said. He's, he got the bipartisan approval of trying to change the criminal justice system. He let out, he like cleared the record of that black boxer. Now that probably would be a reason that Muhammad Ali would say, because remember there was a black boxer that kept, his descendants kept coming to Obama because he was sitting with a white lady, and I think it was his wife, and they gave him they charged him with a crime. You know what I'm saying? And then they wanted it cleared from his record. You know what I mean? And then, but he wouldn't do it. And Trump ended up clearing the boxer, of the record, because it was just, crazy. Of course, he has the right to sit next to his wife, there, those are going to be like things that are going to be, brought up, especially as we feel, as I would think, I don't know, y'all got to tell me, as black men feel the system and the injustices and the inequality more and more, because, as I have told several of y'all, in a class I'm in about social responsibility in corporate America, this white guy went extensively in on where is the black male, and that's why the welfare system is so bad. And I had to defend the fact that you have a system of discrimination and over criminalization. You know what I'm saying? And that how is he going to, be able to take care of business, as Dr. Williams said, if you get even, if you are, I mean, just like this Bryan Banks, the brother was convicted of rape at 16, and it wasn't true. And the municipality paid out the victim, and she reached out to him. He had to go. I mean, if it weren't for this nonprofit in California, the brother would still be in prison.
Yeah.
He never did, he never did it. Like we got this over and over. They're saying like 1 out of 9, or these huge numbers of people that have death row, are likely to be innocent. That's like extreme. Like what kind of, so I think that is, and then you sit here and we're supposed to, as a whole race, give our vote to this party that says, in my opinion, the black man doesn't really matter.
Right.
Here is the issue. The issue is identity politics. All right. When we sit here and instead of voting party, we need to vote issues. What are the issues? I don't care. I supported Wilder for governor. I didn't care whether he was a Republican or a Democrat.
Right.
I looked at the issues. As long as black people are going to continue to close their eyes and say, I'm a Democrat, I'm going to vote Democrat no matter what, you're going to continue to get screwed over, because those white liberals in the Democrat Party know they don't have to do anything to get your vote. You're just going to give it to them no matter what.
No,
so
like Biden said, like Biden told that guy, you know what I'm saying? If you don't vote for me,
God.
you ain't black.
Right. And he could get away with saying stuff like that because, as someone on MSNBC said, you have nowhere else to go. So you're not going to the Republican Party.
That's the way they think.
We can take you for granted, and you're still going to vote for us. If any of you try to go off the reservation and support a Republican, we're going to call you Uncle Tom or
That's
whatever
right.
we have to do to
That's right.
demonize you.
That's right.
You see,
That's
here's
right.
the thing. It's
That's
all
right.
about having a conversation.
There you go.
I don't care. I can have a conversation with a liberal, a Democrat, or a conservative, or whatever, because I just like the conversation because we can learn from each other.
That's right.
But when you watch the media today that's really trying to divide us, not
That's
as an American, not just as an American people, but within our own race,
Amen.
divide us to keep
That's
us from talking together.
That's right.
That's like
That's
me
right.
saying, well,
That's
Obama
right.
didn't do
That's
nothing
right.
right.
That's right.
That's crazy.
That's right.
I didn't like most of the
That's
stuff
right.
Obama did, but I can't say that man
That's
didn't
right.
do anything right.
There you go.
There were a few things he did do.
There you go.
But see, here is
That's right.
to go to the point that you made about some black men going to the Republicans. Here is the issue you have.
Right.
When they look at Obama's presidency
Mm-hmm.
and when they look at Trump and see Trump is restoring funding to historically black colleges,
That's right.
they see Donald Trump do the prison reform to stop mass incarceration.
That'll never make a headline. That'll never make a headline.
Listen, they're going to ask themselves, this is what they're going to have a conversation with themselves about. Why didn't Obama do it? Why did it take this white racist to do it? Those issues we should have taken care of. Obama had the power to end mass incarceration, to do, so to go to your point about, go to the point about you stating some black men may go over to Trump. They're not blind. Trump is not making this stuff up now it's a calculated political move, but he's still doing this stuff. The police reform thing, the executive order. You see, so when you get the power as a black man, all right, I don't care listen, Malcolm X said something in the late 60s, and I didn't realize how true it was. He said the greatest threat to the black people was a white liberal. Now, this is Malcolm X saying this in the late 60s. I looked at it and I didn't believe it when I heard it. I was like, there's no way Malcolm X said that about liberals. I looked it up and I be doggone, the man said that the biggest threat to the black man was the white liberal. And let's not forget the case that just recently happened with the white woman in Central Park.
But if you would think about it, Biden is a white liberal, and he said, "I'm not going to pick a black man." I mean, that's what he said. Like, if we had media that would say, like, if Trump said, "I'm going to pick a black woman," they would say, "Trump said he's not going to pick a black man," but because Biden said, "I'm going to pick a black woman," they don't screw it that way. You know what I'm saying? They don't turn it around.
But Trump's administration you can't find a black man. Only person in there is Ben Carson.
That's right.
So, I mean, let's just look at his administration.
That's right.
He still got Stephen Miller, who's a white racist.
That's right.
And people have been calling for him to push.
That's right.
People
but you know what? I believe that I believe Trump would have more black men if we didn't attack every black man that went to talk to him.
He wouldn't have my vote.
He is the only. But you look, he's the only president that actually sat down with all those black men. He called those black.
I know his history. People in New York knows Donald. They know Donald Trump's history. That's why the people in New York don't pack. He was the one that discriminated with his.
But it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, we could find even worse research on Biden if we wanted to.
Yeah, but
Biden and Trump hang out at the same they're the same place.
I say the lesser of two evils.
I mean, okay, so just say Biden is the lesser of two evils. He is the only one that said that he is not. Look, Trump has never said, "I'm not gonna choose a black man." But I believe that black men are not allowed to work for Trump. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if he said it, you have to be ready as a black person. If you work with Trump, you have to be ready to be hated.
I have a question. I have a question for everybody. If you didn't know it was Donald Trump, all right, you didn't know who the person was, and you looked at his record and you saw everything he did, with prison reform and the all the other things he's done, restoring Black college funding and all the stuff, and you didn't know he was a Republican, and you didn't know it was Trump. You were not allowed to see that. And look at everything he's done up until now. Would you vote for him?
No,
you see, that just proves it's not about issues. We're not looking at the issues. We're looking at the party.
Let Dr. Williams answer it.
So no, I would not vote for him. Here's the thing. So a lot of the claims that you're making about Trump's accomplishments aren't necessarily true, right? So
exactly.
The historical Black college funding, that was a photo op. There's no funding that's actually gone to historical Black colleges that I can see. In fact, the whole thing is a farce. If you look at the Higher Education Act 1965 that established the funding lines for historically Black colleges and minority institutions, you'll see that there were clear lines laid out to support those fundings. Those funding lines have been obfuscated now by the designation of something called minority serving institutions, where majority white institutions now that have minority populations are actually pulling the money from that same pool that used to go to historically Black colleges and universities. So on the surface, it sounds great, but the actual money is not flowing the way it should flow. That's one thing. The other thing is that I can't think of any accomplishments that the claims that Trump is doing all kinds of stuff for the Black community in terms of prison reform. So I remember Senator Cory Booker being at the forefront of that argument, making the case, and then he got the president to sign on to it after he got Senate support. So if you go a little bit deeper than what's on the surface, you actually see the actual push behind a lot of the legislation that goes through. Just because the president signs his name to it doesn't mean it's his initiative. It just means that he was forced to support something that the majority is going along with. So I don't want to get too political here, but I do want to go back and address the issue of supporting the Black man as a potential candidate versus supporting the Black women. I do buy into the fact that the Black woman has been the majority block of voters to get the Democrats across the line when it comes to electing our officials. However, I don't regret, or I'm not reluctant about seeing Vice President Biden choose a Black woman as a running mate, because we all know that if you put a Black woman in a position of power, everybody comes up. That's just a known fact, right? So whether it's a Black man whose face is out there or a Black woman whose face is out there, if you put the Black woman in a position of power, she will lift the whole family. So I don't have any issues with Biden.
I hope so. I hope so. I don't look at this. Here's this. Let me share. Can y'all see this? This is information, because you know how they fact check. They fact check Trump on everything. So it said, did Trump save HBCUs? And this article says that the president signed off on bipartisan. Of course, both parties had to approve it, but it did have to say that the White House and the U.S. Department of Education can make legitimate points when it's touting their support for the sector. That they had to say that it is actually true that he did, support it. Like it tried to say, like, he can't say that I did it, you know what I mean, on my own, which is like ridiculous for them to but that's how the media works. They want to make us feel like, you know what I mean, that if he says, my administration or I did it, then it's just horrible thing. So it's like, it is true, but it's because it was approved by everyone. But they had to admit that the White House and the U.S. Department of Education, which is under his leadership, because if they pushed against it, they were blaming on him. Right. But they're saying that they did support it by $255 million in annual STEM funding, including roughly $85 million specifically allocated to HBCUs. So
maybe if you go back to the article real quick,
sure.
if you go down one more paragraph, you'll see the name Ivory Toldson.
Yep.
Ivory Toldson was President Obama's HBCU person, right? And so he was the one driving those initiatives. So this is a follow on to the effort that he put forth in the prior administration that just actually got to the point where the initiative was started earlier.
Yep.
And so this is one of those things where the person.
But according to HBCUs, they have in print that Obama administration didn't help them. But maybe it took the bipartisan support, like this article is saying, that both of them had to get on board. And I guess the previous administration wasn't as good as getting both. Like once Trump said, yes, let's do this, then it was, you know what I mean, bought into. Like they could have kept saying, no, no, no. And then when the Republicans had, you know, a leader that was saying, yes, 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 that maybe that's how it got to go through. But yeah, that's
the thing about
point, because that shows you how important it is to, you know, the Congress is. You know what I'm saying? Because we think a lot about the president, but you know, Congress is very important too. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then getting your president to really buy into it, that shows how important that is. But even if the president really buys into it, but he doesn't have enough people on the other side of the aisle to buy into it, you know what I mean? It's not gonna happen. So it was just timing. Like, and I see that you can see that like in a lot of things, but we'll think that, oh, it was just because, you know, of that particular, you know, because the Democrats were in power that went through. But sometimes it's because people on both sides of the aisle actually allowed it to go through. Like, you know, but we don't like look as deep, like Dr. Williams was saying. We don't see, you know, see when it started and then how it did, because, you know, that argument that if they were trying, that person was trying the whole time during that the previous administration, that shows you how, you know, that maybe he did press it through. But, you know, the you know, the turnaround on, you know, him pushing for it, because it wasn't like maybe it was, you know, obviously it wasn't as much an issue, you know, prior to it, but the
well, that's why I
bottom
like
line is wonderful. HBCUs are getting some help, and you know, that is great. But that, you know, that's beautiful. And I do love Dr. Williams' statement. What did he say? When a woman is in power, we all benefit. I can't just
You take this forum, for example.
I know that's right. Let's put that in print. I hope that is true. I mean, I really do hope that it is true. Like, but unfortunately, sometimes people get in the position to help and they lose their mind. They forget, you know, where they. But we as voters, you know, have to remind them how important you are.
Well, we need more Black businesses.
Yeah, and more. Yes, I think Black business will really help change the statistics for Black men in big ways. You know, and
well, Jay, what do you think about the opportunity zones, Ms. Bryan, as it relates to helping the Black community? Do you think that's going to have an impact as far as Black businesses are concerned?
Well, they're not really for us, because the opportunity zones are for people who have a lot of money. And we have, because when you buy an opportunity zone and you buy a building for $300,000, the tax law dictates that you also put in $600,000. You have to put in equal amount of improvement in order to do that. But that's a good point. Something else that the Trump administration is doing to encourage investment into areas that are lacking. But one thing you'll notice about opportunity zones, they're not exclusive to our communities. Like you can go to some suburban areas and they'll be considered an opportunity zone. And then opportunity zones, but do allow us to start thinking about, but you know, that's a wealth issue. You know, when someone creates a practice that helps people with wealth do things to help the community, we don't have enough of us, you know what I mean, who have wealth that they're trying to hide. Like, it's the opportunity zone is for a way for people who have a large capital gain in real estate to roll it over into another property, you know, and able to avoid the taxation over time. And then you got to be able to sit on that money for 10 years. So the more we build wealth, the more we'll be able to take advantage of things. Because it is, as I've said, the majority of government subsidies go to rich people. You know, the middle and upper class with the tax deductions on your mortgage interest and things like that. Mortgage interest deduction is a bigger subsidy by the government than public housing. It's almost triple. But we think that, you know, some public housing is pulling down, like the guy in my class, like, you know, he's thinking you give it this lady $1,000 a month to take care of her kids is pulling down the US government. He doesn't realize they're getting opportunity zones and ways to delay paying their capital gains. They're getting a lower capital gains tax rate than many people pay on income taxes. There are so many subsidies. So thank you so much. Y'all have been wonderful. It takes a really enlightened person to enjoy just a discussion like this. And we've been talking like over an hour. Y'all are amazing.
Well, I've enjoyed the different points of view.
That's right.
Conversation and the debate.
That's right.
Likewise.
That's right. And there is, and I you know, I love it. And I know I'm absolutely shocked that you are on this panel with your point of view. I did not think that you would be there. I know you, Mr. Robinson. What? Mr. Robinson down there, he gonna torture you. Like, what's that man's name?
Well, thank you for not kicking me off.
Oh, I know. You lucky you ain't in person.
Well, I don't think I would have came. I think I would have stayed here and did it on Zoom.
Look, Mr. Lewis, Mr. Smith, can you show me what's in your garage? What you got in your garage behind you? What you got?
Oh, nice.
Can you see it?
God, they're covered. What is that under there?
That's a car. Oh, okay.
So you know
it's my Corvette.
Oh, nice. What color is it?
Atomic orange.
Oh, and look, I wonder if that's the one the police pulled him over in. Oh, I love it. That's a pretty color too.
Thank you.
That's what happens to people who ride down the street in an orange Corvette. They get pulled over, especially when they got big muscles. Right. And tattoos. And then look, and then tell them, and they go, "Why ain't you at work?" And you go, "I'm retired, been retired." They go, "What?" Been retired. Well, that's right. Yeah. God is good.
Yes, he is.
Well, I just want to say in closing for me that it's been good, and I know the next time it'll be better with, you know, us coming together for another conversation. So,
that's right. Y'all made Ms. Williams mad. Ms. Williams got mad. Ms. Lewis got mad. Ms. Williams, she went to the side. She started telling them, "That man is crazy. I can see you over there, Gwen. You were like, that man is crazy. I can't do that. I'm going to talk to Jamie. I'm going to talk to Look, and Gwen, we should have got your son down here. We should have got your son, the baby son down here. I would say to your son, I'd say, both of them, their ideology is, what did he say? He taught me that word. Their son taught me the word ideology. That's the way they run it in the Williams household. Big words like that. Like he was like in 7th grade. I said, ideology? Let me look this up. I've never been the same. I said, it's time for me to go back to school. Mr. Robinson, we got it. I'm telling you, we are some amazing things are going on in our community. I just wish that they could see it. I wish that they could see it. Y'all inspire me. I love look at the Williams. You know that's money when you see that blue wall and the white on the top. Look at that. I'm going to one day show y'all what wealth look like. Look, that's what wealth look like. Wealth look like when your garage has carpet on it. Look, did you notice that Mr. Smith has carpet in his garage and covered vehicles? And when you have blue walls, you know what I'm saying? With the chrome, with that, what's that called? With the molding across the top, you know what I'm saying? When you can wear a MAGA hat and not worry about it. And when you got locks and you in the dark. That's what Black Wolf looks like. You know what I'm saying? You just chill down there and inbox privately to the ladies in the chat room. That's it. Look at Mr. Robinson. He's going at it, him and Twyla. Well, the ladies, I apologize to all the ladies in the chat room. Y'all are set. You missed it. I know. Thank you. That Teresa said. But today was all about the men. Indeed. And well,
thank you for giving us this platform.
He said, yes, thank you. Sister JB, thanks for the inspiration. And showing us images of Black wealth. I know that's right. I love our people. That's what Ms. Ramadan said. Ms. Ramadan, I could not understand some of the stuff, but I know you had some things to say. We're gonna have to do a women's one. And look, and they're not even gonna say anything. When I do a women's one, watch. Dr. Williams, I know they're not gonna show up. Gwen won't even come on camera. She'd be like, ain't gonna do it. Yeah. Well, Miss Beecham, carry us on out. Thank you all so much for being on our show today.
Thank you, JB.
I agree.
Thank you.
Yes. Even if you think by any part of your brain that your presence here didn't make a difference, then you are not telling the truth. Somebody needed to hear you say what you said. Now, everybody might not agree with what you said, but the important part is that you said what you said. And so, you know what I mean? For us to be reassured, for us to know that we all have different thoughts, that that it's just beautiful.
And that's how we get stronger.
That's how we get stronger, wiser. Everything. So y'all, blessings. What you gonna play for us?
All right, here it goes. I want to wish you all a happy Father's Day. I thank God for my dad and how he's made me a good worker.
That's right. He's made you a loving person too.
That's true.
You a sweetheart.
He saw the best in me. Everyone else around could only see the worst in me. Yeah, he saw the best in me. When everyone else around could only see the worst in me.
That is crazy. I did that to her. I can't believe I did that to her. She's going to be like, what in the world? She doesn't know. She doesn't know. I got her back. I'm going to get her back. That's terrible. I was letting y'all out. Oh.
She's muted.